All right, it's 9:04 on June 20th. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
I would ask if you're willing and able to stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please do. We are joined by Reverend Ben Staley of Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. Thank you, Reverend.
Let's pray together. Oh Lord, we're thankful for all that you've given to us, for all of your provisions. The good spring rains have been so helpful in filling our fields with crops. You're taking good care of our people. We're thankful that there's been no devastating weather. We also give you thanks for the good people of our community, people who care for one another. We're thankful for especially our police and first responders and those that care for us in our hospitals. We're thankful for good businesses and employment. And we also pray for those who are less fortunate today. Show us how we can best care for our neighbors, loving them as you've loved us. We ask also that you remind us for how you've given us good leaderships. We're thankful for our mayor and our council members, and we pray that you'd give them wisdom today. We're thankful for their service, and we pray that you'd help us to remember that every decision affects people. Help us to live in such a way that we care for one another and follow your ways. And for all that you do and all that you've given to us, we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you, Reverend. Before we get started here today, I'd just like to let people know the mayor is with a trade delegation overseas right now, trying to bring jobs back to our city. And I believe, did Councilmember Ballard, did she manage to get on? She was having connective difficulties earlier.
I don't know if she did or not.
Okay, yeah, we're trying to get Maggie on, but she is out of town as well, trying to join us virtually. Madam Clerk.
Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 13th, 2023.
Has every member had a chance to review the minutes, and is there any discussion? If not, then I will move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 13th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Clerk will pull up the roll. All right, with 5 yeas and 2 abstentions, the minutes are passed. Madam Clerk.
Proclamations, Amateur Radio Field Day.
All right, if you're here for a proclamation, please make your way to the front. Feel free to utilize the front couple of rows too if you're taking pictures. I apologize in advance. You have a vice mayor running the meeting today, so the mayor's not here, but I don't think I'm too much of a downgrade, so. All right, proclamation of the City of Wichita, Kansas, founded in 1870. Whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of the miracle of the human voice broadcast over the airwaves, and whereas amateur radio has continued to provide a bridge between peoples, societies, and countries by creating friendships and the sharing of ideas, and whereas amateur radio operators have also provided countless hours of community services both in emergencies and to local organizations throughout these decades, these amateur radio services are provided wholly uncompensated, and whereas The National ARRL Amateur Radio Field Day exercise will take place on June 24th through 25th, 2023, and is a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of the radio AMA. And now therefore be it resolved that Brandon Whipple, Mayor of the City of Wichita, Kansas, along with the Wichita City Council, do hereby proclaim June 24th through 25th, 2023 as Amateur Radio Field Day. And the City of Wichita encourage all citizens to visit the Greater Wichita Area Field Day 2023 radio stations on June 24th and 25th at McLean Park, 6801 North Hydraulic in Park City, Kansas, to see the radio skills demonstrated and try their hand at amateur radio operating under the supervision of a licensed operator.
Just want to thank you, City, for this proclamation, and that just a little history. This event started in 1933, and there's over 40,000 participants in all over the United States and Canada that will participate in communicating this coming weekend. And if you're interested, come out and see us. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Ryan Standifer, concerns about water in Wichita.
All right, now's when we're entering our public agenda. Please, if you're willing to, just give us your address or your name and a vague place where you live if you're not comfortable. You have 5 minutes. We're not going to crack down on you too hard, but just pay attention to the timer on the screen. Go ahead.
Ryan Standifer. I chose my hydropower for my renewable energy. My quadrant is interesting because the parking spots have a roof that is also a farm, so when it rains, it will water the plants. We need more rooftop gardens to help reduce energy rates. The National Research Council of Canada states that even a 6-inch extensive green roof can reduce summer energy demands by more than 75%. By lowering air conditioning demand, green roofs decrease the production of associated air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. Green roofs last twice as long as normal roofs. They clean our air and they help control water flooding and water runoff. My concern about Wichita is that we will not have enough water. Not only should people use rain barrels and take shorter showers, but the city council should encourage builders to build homes in neighborhoods that have gray water systems. According to a 2017 research project published in the Environmental Science and Pollution Research Journal, found that a gray water system will save money on people's water bills and will pay for itself in 2 years. This irrigation system was also found to help plants grow better than tap water. Green rooftops and gray water systems would save Wichita and its residents lots of money. These innovations would help Wichitans save water and energy. Thank you for allowing me to address my concerns, and I hope you take these ideas into consideration.
Thank you, Ryan. Would you care to take a minute to talk about your project there?
Yes. So, right here is a police station that's powered by water, and the post office is also powered by water, and the parking spots have a roof that is also a farm, and it helps crops grow.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Jameson Smith, Future of Wichita.
Hello, my name is Jameson. I just want to thank the City Council for letting me speak here today. Did you know that we have on average 225 days of sun in Wichita? I just want to encourage the council to provide citizens with rewards to use solar energy and to recycle. It is important to recycle because it helps the environment and we can make new things with the plastic like clothes, furniture, car parts, carpet, and so much more. I am also concerned about how people throw away their trash. EnvironmentAmerica.org states that the average American creates almost 5 pounds of trash a day. That's 1,825 pounds a year. In the United States of America, that would mean we produce roughly 613 billion pounds of trash a year. A plasma gasification facility would provide more jobs because we still need people to deliver the trash to the plant, and it would be very unique for Wichita to have it. A plasma gasification facility is a place that turns trash into gas that we could use for generating electricity. If I could build this in real life, I would build the walls out of recyclable concrete because it does not require sand, which is the second most used natural resource in the world, and like other natural resources, we are running out of it. I just think we need to move away from gas and oil. Thousands of plants, trees, and animals die every day from oil spills or digesting plastics. Even the seafood we eat has plastic in it. An article in Medical News Today shares a 2020 research study by the American Chemical Society that found plastic in every ocean or river sample they took from the fish. I love fish, but I really don't want to be eating plastics, so we really need to be more responsible about our trash and being better citizens of our earth. Thank you for listening, and thank you, City Council, for letting me speak here today.
Thank you, Jameson. Would you care to talk a little bit about your project there?
Yes. So this is a plasma gasification facility right here, and this is a solar panel right here. The roof is white because most roofs are black, but black attracts the most sun and energy. So if it's white, it'll let the solar panel get more energy.
All right, thank you, Jameson. Madam Clerk.
Jesus Fonseca, Future of Wichita.
Hi, my name is Jesus. I chose to research wind energy. My quadrant is interesting because I also made water towers and wind turbines. We can install more wind turbines so we can make more electricity, and since we are still in a drought, more water towers might be a good way to reserve the water we need when we need it. If we don't have water, wind, or solar energy in the future, all electricity will not work and we will live in a dark world. Wind energy is important because it provides us light and all the energy we need in our homes. We need alternative energy resources because we are running out of gasoline and oil. If we have more green energy plants, we will have more jobs to keep people here and bring more people in. We need trees because they provide us oxygen and they help keep our electric bills down. According to canopyict.org, the health of our tree canopy is an everyone issue. The organization states trees help sustain wildlife, heals community, and claims we are losing over 5,000 trees a year. Low-income areas are hit even harder because they can't afford landscape areas. Drought is killing the trees that we need because if we keep killing trees, we are killing ourselves too. If we have no trees, we will have no oxygen. And if we have no oxygen, we will become extinct. The city council should encourage builders not to cut down trees and use recycled materials because trees cost a lot of money, and ICT citizens are trying to plant more trees, but they're just too expensive. killing trees is like throwing tens of thousands of dollars in the trash. We need to plant more trees and cut down less. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Would you care to talk a little about your project there?
Yeah. So pretty much I made like some stores, and some are powered by solar. The stores are powered by solar, and I made a water tower, and I made trees because they provide oxygen, and we can't live without trees. And so like I made like a wind turbine because the one wind energy is the one that I researched. So I chose I put a wind turbine and pretty much all of the renewable energy resources.
All right, thank you, Jesus. Madam Clerk.
Emmalynn Stahlman, Future of Wichita.
I chose to research wind energy. In Kansas, there is a lot of wind, and that is good for wind energy. The waste of wind turbines is a major problem. According to the National Wind Watch organization, many of the wind turbine blades are being buried, and they recommend we should recycle the blades into materials for cement. Sand is the second most used natural resource in the world, so this is a good solution because we are running out of sand for concrete. To stop this from happening, the City Council should encourage more recycling businesses to move to Kansas. This kind of recycling plant could also help recycle old airplanes. I also have another concern for Kansas. When I go outside, I see a lot of trash everywhere, but when I went to the beach, I saw people picking up trash, and I felt so happy. It inspired me to pick up more trash. The City Council should create a system for people to call and fine people for littering, and that could discourage people from throwing trash out of their cars. Unfortunately, at the independent school, we stopped our recycling program because the company quit recycling anything but cardboard. It would be nice for the City Council to provide ways for schools to have a free recycling program. Thank you for listening to all my concerns for Kansas, and thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you, Emmalynn. Would you care to talk a little about your project?
With my project here, I built the school, and it is powered by solar panels on the top of it, and the other building is a powerhouse to store the energy.
All right, thank you, Emmalynn. Madam Clerk.
Jana Sarraf, Future of Wichita.
Good morning. My name is Jana. I am concerned about water. People should not waste water. We should publicize on radio stations, TV, and billboard tips on how to save water, such as taking 5-minute or less showers. According to the Washington Post, if you have a typical shower head, every minute wasted sends 2.5 gallons of water down the drain, unless you have the gray water system. If homeowners don't own a gray water system, we should put restrictions on watering lawns. I'm worried about the Arkansas River. People don't think our trash can end up in the ocean, but it could, because the Arkansas River connects to the Mississippi River, which ends in the Gulf of Mexico. To clean the water in the Arkansas River and lakes, we should have more cleanup days. People need to use less fertilizers and bug and weed killers on their lawns. These fertilizers and bug and weed killers hurt all the biodiversity in the river. Instead of using harmful fertilizers, the City Council should encourage more people to compost. Compost provides the nitrates plants need, and it helps us keep trash out of the landfill.
The type of energy I chose to research is hydropower. We are not harvesting any energy from the water on the Arkansas River. I would love to see a large water wheel on the Arkansas River. If it was downtown, it would be a tourist attraction, but also could provide energy for nearby businesses or walkways. I've noticed we have small dams and wondered if we could harvest the energy coming from those dams without harming the biodiversity of the river or the water quality. I have other concerns for the future of Wichita, and that is litter. It makes our city look dirty and animals sick because animals eat it. Higher fines on littering might help discourage people from littering. I love riding my bike. We need a more bike-friendly city. The Redbud Trail is great, but it only goes west and east. First and Second Streets have a bike lane, but they don't go very far. I would also like to see more parks with free hiking trails so people can enjoy a hike without having to pay. These are some of the ways we can keep more young people in Wichita. Thank you for listening and allowing me to speak today.
All right, thank you, Jana. Could you talk a little about your project for us?
So right here, I have the plasma gasification with building with a plant wall. And right here is the exploration place with the Arkansas River and a water wheel with the Wichita flag. And then right here is a public library with a rooftop garden.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Johnson has a couple of things he'd like to say.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I just want to say to all of you young people, wonderful job. Thank you for coming up here and talking about what's important to you and your passion in this environment. We only have one planet, and it's our job to take care of it. And I want to encourage each of you to keep that passion as you get older. I said this last time, but some of us forgot what Captain Planet taught us when we were younger. But I want to make sure that you all continue to advocate for that. Again, this is the world that you'll be growing up in, and it's our job to take care of it, and you're making sure that we know that. So thank you for doing that, and keep up the good work.
I would like to second my colleagues' comments. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do when you get a little older. Please continue to hold our feet to the fire, and let's all continue to strive for a cleaner, more efficient Wichita. So thank you guys for showing up today. It takes a lot of guts to get in front of us like this. I look forward to seeing more of the students coming forward in the future. Madam Clerk.
Consent agenda items 1 through 16.
Has every member had a chance to review the consent agenda, and is there any discussion? Councilmember Tuttle.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to pull consent agenda item 12.
Okay, Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to pull consent item number 9 for discussion.
All right, we will pull consent agenda items 9 and 12. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I move to accept agenda items 1 through 16 with the exception of items 9 and 12. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Johnson. Clerk will pull up a roll and we will vote. With 5 yeas, we have passed consent agenda items with the exception of 9 and 12. Start out with item number 9. Councilmember Tuttle or Fry? Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, this is the item related to revised cost to constructing a power substation for the Northwest Water Facility. In the green sheet, it says that the estimate in 2021 was $8.2 million, and now the revised cost is $12 million. That's a 50% increase, and I would just like to know what's driving that. And it says we can afford it in the agenda item, but I want to know how we're doing it.
Vice Mayor, Council Members, Gary Jansen, Public Works and Utilities. Councilmember Fry, as you mentioned, the original cost estimate was done almost 2 years ago now. Primary impact for that increase is inflation related to materials, in particular for this type of work. Unfortunately, we have seen this on multiple projects during the last 2 years, including the Emmalynn Street Bridge and most recently on the I-135 sanitary sewer project, where we saw an escalation in prices even more than 50%. So Inflation was number one cause. There were some added costs related to subcontractor work related to the transmission lines, existing transmission lines, which brought power to the substation. It's a big enough project over the course of 2 years. There were a few things that changed within the scope, but primarily it was inflation. So at the time, when we were putting cost estimates together and the financial package for the overall project, we went ahead and added additional costs to that, expecting that some things may change. So as per the agenda item, within that budget, we had about $11.6 million budgeted. Now, we are exceeding that a little bit, but we have some cost savings elsewhere that will help with that. And I will tell you real quick, this is probably not the final cost for this substation. Per our agreement, we needed to catch up on payments with them every 6 months. That's where we're at on this one. They expect to have a little bit more cost, final cost, within the next 6 months, sometime this fall. So we'll be bringing that back to the council at that time if there is another cost increase.
And so there's really no way around this. We have to have this equipment as of now to be able to continue to move forward. We can't, because I know some construction materials have kind of backed off their prices. We're not seeing that opportunity here.
Not because of what you're considering today is for work that's already been done.
It's already been done.
Yes, the
So we have
majority
to
of it
have this
has,
cost
right.
incurred.
And that was part of our agreement for them to invoice after the work was complete.
Okay, and again, I think I asked at the agenda review on Friday, this is not part of a GMP with Wichita Water Partners. This is a separate budget item.
It's a separate budget item, but was included under the umbrella of the WIFIA and SRF funding.
Okay, so we will not see any impact on that.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned. I mean, we know that Evergy has a rate increase proposed for utility rates for residential as well as consumer. Just seeing it, a 50% increase is staggering. So, and I know we can absorb it, but it's just shocking. No pun intended. Sorry. So, okay, well, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Vice Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion for this approval.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I make a motion that the City Council authorize an increase to the Evergy purchase order based on the revised estimate.
And I will second that. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. All right, with 5 votes, that item does pass. Councilmember Tuttle.
Thank you. Regarding consent agenda item 12, due to a personal conflict of interest with the entity that is leasing this building, I will be abstaining from this vote.
All right, any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move that the City Council approve the final statement of cost, place the ordinance on the first reading, and authorize the necessary signatures. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. With 4 yeas and 1 abstention, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Petitions for public improvements.
Good morning, Vice Mayor, City
Welcome.
Council members. Paul Gunzelman, Public Works and Utilities. The item before you this morning is petitions for public improvements. The signatures on the petitions represent 100% of the improvement districts, and the petitions are valid per Kansas statute. Cypress Glen addition in District 5. The projects will provide water, stormwater, sewer, and paving improvements required for a new residential development. The second item, Meadow Lake Beach, second edition, then District 3. Projects will provide water, sanitary sewer improvements required for residential development. And the third item is a revised petition for Northgate 5th Edition, Phase 2. On May 18th, within District 6, on May 18th, 2021, the City Council approved water, sewer, and paving improvements to serve Northgate 5th Edition, Phase 2. The developer has submitted revised petitions for water, stormwater sewer, sanitary sewer, and paving improvements. It is recommended that the City Council approve the new and revised petitions and budgets adopt the new and amended resolutions, and authorize the necessary signatures. And I will stand for questions.
Questions for staff? Seeing none, is there any input from the public? Seeing none, I bring it back up here for discussion. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the new and revised petitions and budgets, adopt the new and amending resolutions, and authorize the necessary signatures. Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Madam Clerk will bring up the roll. With a vote of 5-0, the item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Wichita Transit software purchase to implement safety management systems compliance.
Morning, Vice Mayor, Council. Nathaniel Hinkle here with the Department of Transportation. Here to talk today about safety management systems. In December of 2020, our public agency safety transportation plan was approved by Council. This agency safety plan outlined procedures for identifying, assessing, and mitigating transit risks. To successfully implement this plan, Wichita Transit needs new methods of data collection, incident analysis, and proactive hazard reporting. Wichita Transit is not alone. Comprehensive identification and assessment of risks is not common in the transportation industry and is also being implemented by the FAA as well. In fiscal year of 2024, the FTA will be looking for actual agency safety plan implementation during triennial audits. Wichita Transit is scheduled for such an audit that year. So basically, we're moving from developing our plan to implementing our plan as was outlined. Civics provides software that meets FTA expectations. It facilitates data compilation utilizing customized forms, gathers anonymous employee reports, performs analytics on that data. Transportation staff could then evaluate the risk identified, prepare root cause analysis, and develop responsive mitigations. This process compiles with FTA certifications and assurances. The software will encourage data collection in the field, increasing the frequency of hazard identification and reporting. Reporting tools are in all employees' hands rather than the more traditional filter of supervisory assessment. Increasing the raw data points can identify trends or similarities that might not otherwise be noticeable. The ultimate goal is to shift from a reactive response to safety incidents to a proactive mitigation of foreseeable safety hazards. The 5-year contract for software as a service has a total financial commitment of $222,198. Compliance with safety management systems is a requirement of the FTA and will be necessary for continuing our federal grants, which our department heavily depends on. SMS compliance without the software would require additional staffing. Our plan is to utilize the software and existing staff to monitor and implement the safety management systems program. Without the software, we would be lacking the analytics and would also require at least another full-time position. Additionally, this contract would qualify as a safety-related expenditure. We are required to spend at least 1% of our annual federal formulary funding on safety-related expenses, and this would qualify as one of those. The Law Department has approved the contract as to form. The recommendation is that City Council approve the contract for Civics SMS software and approve the necessary signatures. Be happy to answer your questions.
Questions for staff? Councilmember Tuttle.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and your work on this. I'm kind of a data junkie, so I'm just curious. It's a 5-year contract, so every year we'll have some sort of data report, analytics that will come to the Department of Transit, correct? So how will you use that data? Will it be shared with council, with constituents? Will it be used to improve the safety plan? Just as if you were explaining it to your neighbor at the mailbox, tell us just a little bit more about why this is going to improve transit for the city of Wichita. Thank you.
So these analytics will actually be able to see in real time, not just at certain points in the contract. But as we get more basically submissions from whether that be staff, employees, customers on anything kind of safety related, we'll start to gather more data points and see similarities, whether there's, is there a trend out at a certain bus stop that people have been reporting a certain incident on, or is there a slip hazard in the garage, or is there an issue on a specific bus? As we get more reports in, we'll get more analytics and see trends. But basically, the software is designed to pull all those different data points and analyze it to where we might not see them just looking at them on our own. It also provides for feedback and reporting to people that submit requests. They can do it anonymously, or they can do it with information. And even as an anonymous submitter, they can get feedback as the responses and mitigations go through. So as our staff works to identify potential corrections or mitigations to those hazards, risks, so forth, the people that submit that can see what's being done. And then, of course, we can build reports on that, share that with our advisory board meeting, share that with council, anybody that's interested.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. So I know this is a contract with Civics. Has any of our employees that will be inputting data tried this software?
We have had multiple online demos of at least an hour or so each. So our frontline staff and our administrative staff have seen this. We've had numerous discussions with the vendor, especially about creating customized forms that would be to meet our needs. And we've also reviewed other softwares, and we found that this was the one that best fit our needs and was also meeting the FTA requirements.
Okay, so you feel comfortable that our staff will be able to use this pretty easy? And I'm only asking because we've purchased systems before that were a little difficult, so.
Yes, this one was very automated, and we especially liked this one because we thought we could utilize existing staff functions to work with the software. It didn't require a lot of extra hands-on time as a learning curve or implementation, inputting data, so forth.
Okay, thank you.
All right, one quick question. Does this take into account any of the issues that riders might have? Do they have the ability to have their input in this as well?
Absolutely. We can have information at our transit center, on our buses, anywhere our customers might see it, and they can access a link. Any computer, smartphone, anything that has internet connection can submit a report. And we currently have paper drop boxes in our transit center, so people can write us a note on a safety form or any kind of piece of paper they have, and then we can manually input that as well. So we'll take basically any kind of information we can get.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no further questions. Let's go out to the public for public comment.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is Andrew Crane from Guiding Paws ICT, and I do ride the bus. And you guys need to approve this, and it's going to be very, very helpful for folks and the blind community and the disabled community. It's about time you guys approve this and get it done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back here for discussion. All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the software contract with Civics and authorize the necessary signatures. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. By a vote of 5-0, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Amendments to section 11.42.030 pertaining to driving while suspended offenses.
Good morning, Sharon DeGraff, City Law Department. Today I'm here to present amendments to the city's ordinances regarding sentencing for driving while suspended offenses. Currently, the city ordinances require minimum sentence and fine for each conviction, whether it be a first, a second, or a third. A second conviction for driving while suspended does require a mandatory 5 days in jail, and that jail has to be served if it is a second offense. During this past session, the legislature changed the mandatory minimums for driving while suspended. They allow the court discretion to sentence that person appropriately and does not require a minimum fine or a minimum jail time be served. These amendments would provide the court more discretion in determining the appropriate sentence for the offenders and enable defendants to avoid incarceration. The amendments changed the fine for a second offense, a minimum fine of to $100. It also clarifies that if the defendant is eligible for reinstatement, that they cannot be convicted of a driving while suspended charge. It also clarifies the municipal court's responsibilities to report these convictions to the state. It is recommended that the City Council place the amendments on first reading and authorize any necessary signatures.
Questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll go out to the public. Any public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back up here for discussion. Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. If this is passed, are we going to have some form of information campaign to let people know about this? Maybe on social media or in some other way, just because I think this is a really good change and would allow more people to know that this has happened, and maybe some folks who have suspended licenses who are currently trying to avoid letting us know that might, try to come through and get some of this taken care of.
We'll work on that.
All right, any further discussion? I'd just like to take a minute to thank the state legislators who have worked on this, including Representative Hoheisel, who has shown up today. This is a good thing that we're doing here. This is good to help give people a hand up out of the issues that they are facing instead of sending them down a path of recidivism. So we want to do the best we can to stop creating criminals from minor infractions, especially something as burdensome as paying off fines when you don't have the fiscal capacity to do so at the time. So with that being said, I'll make the motion to place the ordinance on first reading and authorize the necessary signatures. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. By a vote of 5-0, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Public Housing, Section 18, Disposition Application for Group 2 AII.
Welcome, Sally.
Good morning, members of council, Vice Mayor Hoheisel. Sally Stang with the Housing and Community Services Department for the record. The item we have for you today is our third grouping of public housing properties in which we're applying to HUD for approval to dispose. So a little background, in 2017, the Housing Authority Board approved a rental assistance demonstration application to convert its entire portfolio under the RAD project. Multifamily senior properties, so all 4 properties, 226 units at Greenway Manor, McLean Manor, Rosa Gregg, and Bernice Hutcherson apartments, as well as the 352 units of single-family homes scattered across Wichita. So we were successful in securing the tax credit investor HUD loan and GAT financing for the multifamily senior buildings, with a total project cost nearing almost $36 million on that project. A little update on that. So since closing financing in October of 21, all of the interior rehabilitation and resident relocations have been completed in the first quarter of 23 at Rosa Gregg, and those exterior upgrades will begin this summer. McLean Manor is nearing completion on those interior rehabilitations, and the resident relocations from all of the residents that are at Greenway will be coming to McLean in August or this fall, with exterior upgrades beginning anytime now. Bernice Hutcherson, the interior rehabs began in January of this year and are expected to be completed in the fall. And then as soon as all those residents are relocated from Greenway, we'll be able to begin the interior rehabilitations on that building. As you know, we were not successful in securing the financing for the RAD conversion of those 352 single-family homes. And in May of 2021, HUD convened a national experts who helped us come to that decision that the restricted RAD rents would not support the debt service necessary for us to make all the repairs the properties needed. They recognized the tremendous expense of managing and maintaining scattered site single-family homes and recommended disposition. So this is our third grouping of properties. This is the 23 units clustered down in southwest Wichita. It includes the units at the corner of Haskell and St. Clair, and then the 3 units that are also within a quarter of a mile of that. It is located within a qualified census tract as well as the established central area. We're recommending disposition under Section 18 of the Housing Act for those properties to be sold at fair market value through a competitive RFP process, joined with the ability for purchasers to apply for affordable housing funds that we received under ARPA and/or project-based vouchers if they want to keep them affordable rentals. Those future affordability restrictions will be in accordance with the Affordable Housing Fund. We have requested tenant protection vouchers and the utilization of our existing housing choice vouchers for existing residents, and they've all been provided relocation counseling, and all of those relocation costs are paid for by the project. So here's a map just demonstrating where those 23 properties lie. So we have completed the required activities to get us to application for that Section 18 application, including environmental assessments. This was one grouping of properties where all of the properties were in a groundwater plume, and we had to go to phase 2 subslab vapor testing. That testing came back with no issues, no levels higher than allowed by KDHE, so we are allowed to move forward. We've completed the appraisals, resident consultations, resident relocation counseling, homeownership resource counseling, as well as local government consultations as required. The sales proceeds, currently the appraisals show an appraised value of just over $1.8 million. Those proceeds can be used to seed a Section 8 rental project through the Affordable Housing Fund or any other Section 8 project approved by the Wichita Housing Authority Board. And just to note, HUD will not permit the proceeds to be used for affordable home ownership. There is no impact to the general fund. The Housing Authority will request that HUD allow the net sales proceeds to be used for another Section 8 rental project to be identified. The Law Department has drafted, reviewed, and approved the resolution to form, and it is recommended that the City Council, and serving as the Wichita Housing Authority Board, approve the resolution adopting the submission of the inventory removal application and Section 18 disposition addendum to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 23 single-family homes from the public housing portfolio and authorize the necessary signatures, and I'll stand for any questions.
Questions for staff? Councilmember Blubaugh.
Can we discuss the water plume a little bit?
Sure.
Because, you know, I know I've asked this question in the past, and I've actually had some other realtors reach out to me and ask me, is there a concern in Southwest Wichita? Is this something that, you know, should we not be selling the properties down there, or should everybody that lives down there be concerned?
Well, as required by HUD, that the sub-vapor testing was completed. So they actually had to go into the crawl spaces, bore into those foundations, and do vapor testing. For these 23 properties, every one of them came back with no VOCs higher than what's recommended by KDHE, and so they were deemed acceptable to sell. Okay. Now, there are different plumes. I've learned more about plumes in the last year than I ever thought I wanted to know. Different plumes have different reasons, and that's why they have us test individual sites. So, you know, plumes can be caused from underground storage tanks, dry cleaners, other things that can affect that underwater or underground contamination. So each individual property is tested if it falls within the parameters set by KDHE.
Do we have any evidence of any properties in this neighborhood that have not fallen within the parameters?
I have no evidence of that at this point, no.
Okay. And then also, can you explain to me how exactly you said RFP, how exactly we're going to be marketing the properties so that everyone, you know, anyone that's available to buy them, and hopefully these can land in some first-time owners?
Absolutely. So we will be using an RFP process. They all need work. So we do expect they will be sold through our development partners and married with the funding from either the home funds or the Affordable Housing Fund to be able to make repairs that would then allow them to be kept as either affordable homeownership or affordable rentals. We'll be using a multi-tiered RFP process. We have about 110 interested parties already on our list who will be notified as soon as that RFP hits the streets. But they'll be able to apply to purchase a property, apply for gap funding, as well as project-based vouchers if they wish to keep them rentals.
Do we have any tools available to be able to guide these toward first-time buyers? Because knowing that it's going to need some work and stuff like that, I know not every buyer, first-time buyer, is going to be able to get in there, but this is a perfect opportunity, perfect neighborhood for people to have their first-time home.
We have many of our nonprofit affordable housing developers who work in this realm who already have pipelines in place to find renters that can qualify for their first-time mortgage and be working through trying to make those available to those qualifying households.
But an individual that wanted to reach out and try to buy these and fix them up just for themselves to own one home?
They could. It would be very, very challenging, and that's why we expect that we'll be working through many of our partner groups in the community that do this type of work, such as the Habitat Mennonites, as well as our for-profit developers could also apply.
How will we be working with Wichita Association of Realtors to let them know about this problem?
They are also on our interest list, so also we work with the city's real estate office who communicates with all kinds of realtors across
So
the
will they
city.
be emailing those out to all the realtors?
Sure. Yes.
I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, so
Could
the
you
first
kind
30...
of follow up with me and let me know all the actions? Because
The
just
first
like-
37 in the first application are going out just for sale on their own, and they are going through the city's real estate office, and they've already started putting together the flyers they'll be sending to all known through the Realtors Association of South Central Kansas, as well as to individual realtors across the city.
Okay.
So, okay.
I generally don't ever see any of that. I've been a realtor for 20 years, so I'd love to be on that distribution. Not that I have an interest in these, but I want to see, that these are being marketed. They're available to.
Absolutely.
Any further questions for staff? How successful are the relocations? Are the people pretty satisfied afterwards, and are we finding suitable accommodations for them?
So in the single-family homes, none of the families have yet been relocated, because until we get the approval from HUD, we cannot start the actual relocation process. We've relocated the ones from the first project, the senior project, where they've moved to another location. They've gone okay. They've been a little bit bumpy at times. It's the planning around the movers can be a little bit challenging. But in the end, in that particular project, they all came back, they've come back into newly rehabbed units and have been thrilled. So it's definitely a challenge. We'll see when we get to the single-family homes, it gets even more challenging because, as we know, people are challenged to be able to find places with vouchers now, and these are going to be additional folks that are looking for rentals using vouchers.
All right, thank you. I'd like to be kept up to date as much as I can on that process, make sure that it's going smooth.
Absolutely.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, I go out to the public for public input. Seeing none, I'll bring it back up here for discussion. Councilmember Johnson?
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Due to a personal conflict, I'll be abstaining from this vote.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution and the submission of the inventory removal application and Section 18 disposition addendum to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for 23 single-family homes from the public housing portfolio and authorize the necessary signatures. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Tuttle. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. By a vote of 4 and 1 abstention, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Approval of travel for Councilmember Blubaugh and Councilmember Ballard to attend Sister Cities, July 12th through 16th, 2023, and Tlalnepantla, tried to say that as best I could, Mexico.
All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will make the motion to Approve the travel for Councilmember Blubaugh and Councilmember Ballard to attend Sister Cities, July 12th through 16th in Tlalnepantla, Mexico. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a second. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll. By a vote of 5-0, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Approval of travel for Councilmember Johnson to attend the City to City Conference, July 12th through 14th, 2023 in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
All right, any discussion? All right, I think I should be able to handle this city a little better. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the travel for Councilmember Johnson to attend the City to City Conference, July 12th through 14th, 2023 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion's been seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Madam Clerk, bring up the roll and let's vote. All right, by a vote of 5-0, that item does pass. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember appointments and comments.
All right, let's start with the board appointments. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Councilmember comments for good of the group. Councilmember Blubaugh.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Bob, I think you know we've probably got over 100 emails about automobilia. Could we address maybe what's going on there?
Yes, Councilmember, thanks for asking. We've been in discussions with the promoter for automobilia probably at least 60 days regarding this year's event. Concerns were expressed about the footprint for the event this year, primarily voiced by the Old Town Association and many of its members. The estimate was that last year, Old Town businesses lost about $75,000 on that Saturday, which is an important business day for Old Town businesses. Also, there's a large concert going on at Intrust Bank that evening, and they expressed some concerns about St. Francis being closed. So we tried to work with the sponsor, we worked with the sponsor, then we also had a meeting, brokered a meeting between Old Town Association and the promoter, not sponsor. He would not agree to boundary from Washington to hydraulic, which is what we thought would address the Old Town Association issues, but still allow the event to go on. So ultimately, we denied the permit, but indicated that if he was willing to come back and discuss alternatives, we would continue to do that. We've not heard back from the promoter since that time. However, we have received probably close to 200 emails now from supporters of the event, asking for it to go, I think, all the way from hydraulic, if I remember, to Emporia, I think is the footprint they've been talking about.
What was the original request? How far did they want it?
That distance, hydraulic all the way to Emporia.
So the request is still the same, nothing's changed?
Nothing has changed, right. And we'd be more than happy to issue a permit today if the boundary could stop at Washington, go hydraulic to Washington. But we've been unsuccessful in getting the promoter to change to this date.
How much area is there between?
5, maybe 5 blocks, 5 or 6 maybe. Yeah, maybe 6.
Is it a capacity issue? Do they not think that they can?
I believe that's the case. Also, it's just a matter of trying to follow past practice in the way that he's lined, he's used parking lots and used the street for exhibiting.
So this is a new automobile request, right? Like, I know they've done this several years in the past, but you're saying they're adding onto their footprint? Or?
No. The footprint that they asked for is the footprint they used this last time, which became very problematic. And I think this is going to be an issue for all of us. In fact, we'll probably seek some guidance from the council after working with the Old Town Association, because as downtown has started to thrive from a retail standpoint, Saturday events are becoming much more problematic for them because it's a very significant business day. And so, it's not uncommon for them to see significant, this type of loss for other events. And so we need to talk about how many there should be, what Old Town Association is comfortable with. Are there some parameters in terms of keeping events out of private parking lots and allowing easier access into retail establishments? I've heard complaints for a number of years, but it's now gotten to the point where the Old Town Association is organized around this issue and is very concerned that we're allowing one promoter to cut off their livelihood for a full Saturday. We even offered a Sunday event, but understand that the promoter was not interested in that as well.
You see the news stories, it's on Cake anyway, it looked like they had one business owner that was saying it hurt his business, but had other business owners saying that the foot traffic was bringing in more business and a positive financial impact.
And the Old Town Association indicates that they do have some members who do prosper, but overall, they believe the majority of their businesses struggled during that Saturday.
What is this, like July 8th? I mean, we've got a pretty short timeline here.
That's correct.
Are you optimistic we're going to be able to work out some kind of agreement? Or
we're reaching out.
People are asking me whether it's going to be canceled or not.
Yeah, we're reaching out to the promoter again today. Old Town Association and city staff have indicated we're supportive of automobilia. We just want to do it in a way that one business doesn't, that some businesses aren't harmed in order for other businesses to thrive, right? We're looking for a win-win, and we thought we had that with Hydraulic to Washington.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Two things. One, we had a wonderful Juneteenth celebration. I want to shout out Park and Rec staff. Always do a wonderful job helping us get set up. And with all of the foot traffic, this was probably the biggest year that we've seen as far as turnout, and really good. No incidents. So wanted to highlight that. It was a really good celebration over at McAdams. And then also, to those who know, please keep the families of Ms. Teresa Brown Foster in your prayers. We'll be laying her to rest this week. And also just found out, please keep the family of Miss Marilyn Overton in your prayers as well. We ended up losing hers as well. So thanks, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you, council member. I would just like to take a second and also thank our first responders for some of the things that were going on over the weekend. We had PD addressing some suspicious packages being delivered to various legislators. They did a good job kind of wrangling that. They had a lot going on that day. And then also, I think we all got the email Saturday or Sunday morning of the fire department trying to remove people from who were pinned during an accident while the tornado sirens were going off, not too far from my house. So again, special thanks to all the first responders for everything you do, putting our lives up, or your lives on the line all the time for us. So I just want to give a special shout out to Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. You brought up something I just always like to publicly say. The act of sending any type of powder to scare or anything real to anyone in office or to intimidate is disgusting behavior, and that needs to stop. And if you don't like elected officials, I'll just use me for an example, organize to get us out of office. Go knock some doors, raise money, and work to make sure we don't stay in office. But the intimidation tactics are disgusting. That's not who we are as a people, and we really need to stop that. And I just want to encourage anyone who might be thinking about that, don't. And if this is an election year and there's somebody you don't like, again, get out there, work for their opponent, raise money for them, knock those doors, and try to get your person into office. But this other stuff is disgusting and needs to stop.
Thank you, Councilmember. That's right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose there. There's better ways of dealing with disagreements here, and to resort to terroristic tactics is definitely not the way we operate here in this city and in this country. So with that, we are going to go into executive session. So I request an executive session for the City Council meeting being held on June 20th, 2023 I move that the city council recess an executive session for 30 minutes to receive information on a civil action pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal consultation with city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship pertaining to pending litigation and legal advice. So with that,
Excuse me, there's a second part.
okay, we will be going from 10:15 until 10:45. Do I have a second for this?
Excuse me, Mayor, or
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor, if I could just add, the executive session is required to protect the attorney-client privilege and the public interest.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, 5-0, and we will be back here at 10:45.